Viking invasions to Britain. After the Romans had left Britain 400 after Christ, there the Vikings were coming, and they were mostly during that time peaceful. Then in the 7th century they became more aggressive. They raided towns and they killed people, they stole people, they kidnapped people, they robbed goods and so on. In 873 they got the river Treat up and the 32 longboats, and then also pillaged a Saxon village. Then they started to settle a bit more. They established a bit of trading area at York and also founded by Dublin. And Alfred the Great was able to make a Danelaw. He fought against them, and when the Danelaw was made, the Vikings stayed behind the line. And the Vikings, they had long skips. With them they were doing raids 20 meters long, narrow, so they could drive fast, and also the rivers up. And knots, these were cargo ships, so they could transport things. They made it also up to North America, Leif Erikson, proving through maps. And now after they settled there a little bit, then after some time there was no Alfred the Unready on the throne, called like that. And he was advised to bribe them also, to give them money to pay them off. He collected taxes to pay them, but he was just strengthening them. And when one day in 1002 he ordered a massacre, but he tried then to establish laws, for example at an Ironside, but it didn't really work out. Ethelred the Unready got into exile in the Normandy, came later back, but then it became just out of Edmund Ironside and Canute, who became his successor. And they agreed then after some battles, and it became then, after Edmund Ironside died, Canute the next king, and he was then a Dane. And the most fierce warriors of Vikings were called berserkers. They had oftentimes attacked with surprise, and they were treasuring the weapons a lot. But not only that, when they stayed also, they were also making crafts things. So not only were they able to make these boats, for example, one person was buried in such a boat after the person had died, and the boat was in use for 100 years previously, seeing where it was maintained, if it is visible as the wood. They were also doing things that they had also administrative skill. And that is according to the history of the kings and queens of England and Scotland, written by Edmund Swinglehurst on the page 16 and 17. Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn history today, Viking invasions against Britain, and after we've done it, we're going to do standing yoga. If you participate in the standing yoga, this werdet ihr own risk. Let's read a little bit on. Ethelred the Unready, this is the third part or something. The title The Unready, or more accurately the ill-advised, given to Alfred's successor, derives largely from the writer of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, who was an admirer of Alfred and disappointed in his successor. Ethelred was slow and ineffectual in dealing with the Danes, and the Viking invasions intensified during his reign, despite his efforts to contain them by enlarging his navy. So Ethelred also enlarged the navy. Recent studies of Ethelred show that he was an able administrator and constructive in dealing with legal and financial matters of government. What he lacked was Alfred's warrior character, and despite standing at the indecisive Battle of Maldon, he found it difficult to protect his people from Danish attacks. The idea of buying them off with money came from his advisor, Archbishop Sigeric, and the method by which the money was raised is evidence of Ethelred's administrative skill. The money was collected from towns and villages by Ethelred's tax collectors as protection money, not unlike the money or services paid by tenants to the lords under the feudal system. Ethelred's patience with the Viking hordes must have worn thin by 1002, for he decided to deal with invaders by surprise coup. He ordered a massacre of all Danes on St. Theresa's Day, and so we're going to talk about war. And many settlements were destroyed. The main effect, however, was to destabilize the country and bring to the force powerful lords, one of whom was Edmund Ironside. These lords created the private domains, thus undoing all efforts to create a unified kingdom. Ethelred was forced into exile in Normandy with his wife Emma, but was recalled for an ineffective end to his reign. The end came with Sven Forbiek's arrival in England and the takeover of the English throne by Canute, a Danish king, on the death of Ethelred. Okay, there we have it. Okay, Viking invasions. Now the information where we want to name 873 was 32 odd into the river Trent. And when we're going to name the first peaceful visits, then more aggressive Vikings, there was opposition with Alfred the Great, who established the Danelaw after they had settled and then they stayed behind the line. But then was Ethelred the Unready on the throne, and so we can add a little bit of it. It's better if we add a little information. So maybe we're going to read in the future always 3-4 parts from before we make representation. Ethelred the Unready, who was dealing with Vikings, he raised money, he had administrative skill, so as tax money, as protection money, and he had the advice to bribe them with money. But when he also ordered a massacre, I don't know where it is a bit more said about that. On the death of King Ethelred the Unready, who gained his name from playing a waiting game with the Danes, including bribing them with money to stop their raids, there were two rivals for the throne, Canute, who was Danish, and Edmund Ironside the Saxon. After several fierce battles, the two claimants agreed to a peaceful settlement by sharing the kingdom between them. Ironside died soon after, leaving Canute as sole king. Canute married Emma of Normandy and divided his kingdoms. Married one Elgiva and two Emma of Normandy, widow of Ethelred II. Emma of Normandy. Emma, Duke of the Duke of Normandy. Emma, the daughter of the Duke of Normandy. Okay, this is actually already Viking invasions, and they could build ships, the knots and the langskips, lots for cargo and langships for Norway. They established York as a trading town, and Dublin also did they found. And Leif Erikson made it up to North America. Okay, let's start it and look how far we come. I'm going to stop a second. I'm just thinking about making a bigger video just for Vikings, and maybe we're gonna make 2. Edmund Ironside the same. The main effect, however, was to destabilize the country with the massacres and bring to the 4 powerful lords, one of whom was Edmund Ironside. And it was when Edmund Ironside and King Canute and Edmund Ironside fighting, and then making an agreement, and then it became King Canute, a Danish king. Let's just try it, look what comes out of it, and then we're going to decide if we make it completely new, plan completely new, and make a completely 2-3 separate videos about different subjects. Let's make one about the invasions. Viking invasions to Britain. After the Romans had left Britain, 400 after Christ, there the Vikings were coming, and they were mostly during that time peaceful. Then in the 7th century they became more aggressive. They raided towns, and they killed people, they stole people, they kidnapped people, they robbed goods, and so on. In 873 they got the river Threed up and the 32 longboats, and then also pillaged the Saxon village. Then they started to settle a bit more. They established a bit of trading area at York and also founded at Dublin. And Alfred the Great was able to make with Danelaw. He fought against them, and when the Danelaw was made, the Vikings stayed behind the line. And the Vikings, they had long skips. With them they were doing raids 20 meters long, narrow, so they could drive fast, and also the rivers up. And knots, these were cargo ships, so they could transport things. They made it also up to North America, Leif Erikson, proving through maps. And now after they settled there a little bit, then after some time there was no Alfred the Unready on the throne, called like that. And he was advised to bribe them also, to give them money to pay them off. He collected taxes to pay them, but he was just strengthening them. And when one day in 1002 he ordered a massacre, but he tried to establish laws, for example Edmund Ironside, but it didn't really work out. Ethelred the Unready got into exile in the Normandy, came then later back, but then it became just out of Edmund Ironside and Canute, who became his successor. And they agreed then after some battles, and it became then, after Edmund Ironside died, Canute the next king, and he was then a Dane. And the most fierce warriors of Vikings were called Berserkers. They had oftentimes attacked with surprise, and they were treasuring the weapons a lot. But not only that, when they stayed also, they were also making crafts things. So not only were they able to make these boats, for example, one person was buried in such a boat after the person had died, and the boat was in use for 100 years previously, seeing where it was maintained, it was visible as the wood. They were also doing things, and they had also administrative skill. And that is according to the history of the kings and queens of England and Scotland, written by Edmund Swinglehurst on the page 16 and 17. It would have been good to name Sven Folkbeard, but it was a good presentation. I'm going to stop the camera. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to read on in the book. The next 2 chapters are about a similar thing. So we're not going to do just the next chapters about Ethelred the Unready, and then Christianity also, and King Canute, and then on the Battle of Venetia. But with King Canute, we make not just a presentation about King Canute and Ethelred the Unready. We're going to come back to the Vikings, and we try to make another thing, the Vikings in Britain, basically the title. And we explain that was now the title, Viking invasions to Britain. We're going to make one bigger one, just the Vikings in Britain, and try to explain them completely the whole story, as much as we know from that book. So we're going to come back 2 or 3 times to the Viking subject, additionally to what is here as chapters. If you were here for history, you can get ready to an expert of history. I don't know, we will do partly in medieval studies. Maybe I'm going to make a new one for Vikings, maybe in history, I don't know. So at some point somewhere we will continue with that. If you are here for that, you can go directly to an expert. If you stay here and participate in the standing yoga, then it's better your own. Have a feet knee together, believe, and lift the arms up. In and up. Out and down. In and up. Out and out. To the side. In and up. Out and to the other side. In and up. Out on the side, make an inch of space between the feet. In and up. On the tiptoes. And out and down. In and up. Out onto the side. In and up. And out and down. In and up. And out and down. And breathe in. And out and lean onto the knees. Breathe in. And out and make a hill with the back. In middle. Out the belly. In middle. Out the hip. In middle. Out the belly. In middle. And out come the round back up, make it the top of the back with the shoulder. And breathe in the arms up, come up on the tiptoes. And breathe out, feet together, head down. Breathe and bend the right leg. And out is the left leg. In middle.
Out the right leg. In middle. Out both together. Breathe in, lift the right hand up. Bend the left knee, breathe out, look to the sky. And hand again down. Breathe in the left hand up. Bend the right knee, look to the sky, breathe out. Hand down. Out and down. Make a hand lift space between the feet. Shift the weight to the heels. Breathe in, Kablan. And out and up. In and out. Out and up. Take hold on the elbows and gently rock from side to side. Hands again down, feet together. Breathe in, halfway up, straight back. And out and down. In and up. Out and down. In and up. Out and down. We toss the body to the outside. Breathe in the arms up. And out and sink down. Elbows against the inside of the knees. Breathe in, straighten up. And out and come in one straight line upwards. Hands again down. Breathe in. And out and down. In, straighten up. And out, up in one straight line. Have feet sink together, breathe in the arms up. Out, lean back, draw the elbows together. In and up. Bring the hands together and lean back. In middle. Out to the side. In middle. Out to the other side. In middle. Intertwine the fingers and reach high. Out, breathe out, change in front of the back. In now, change intertwining. Out in the front. In and up. Out, lean back with the long arms, throw the elbows together. Shoulder blades together, elbows down. In and up. Out, lean back with the long arms, throw the shoulder blades together, elbows down. In and up. And lean just back. In and up. Out, hands down. Breathe in, hands up. Out and down. In and up. Out and down. In and up. Out and down. And the last time. In and up. Bring the hands to touch and lower and down to heart center. It was the standing yoga. I thank you very much. And until next time.